I don't think there's anywhere that screams jack of all trades, master of none more than living on a boat. And that is exactly what I have become over the last few years when it comes to things like gel coat, resin, fiberglass, and fairing. So that's what we're going to look at today. We are going to look at how to fair fiberglass, or at least how I do it, with West Systems 407. West System make quite the range of marine repair products, and the one that we're going to be looking at today is the 407. But we also use their resins when we do repairs on Liger, and we've also used a lot of the 404, which is a high density filler. Not going to be using that one today though. Today the one I'm going to focus on and the one I'm talking about is 407. I am using this as a low density fairing filler. Now the way I use it is I mix it in with West Systems slow cure and the resin to a consistency that's kind of like peanut butter. That allows me to paste it on kind of like icing a cake, and then once it cures it's actually relatively easy to sand. So this is an example of one that I'm halfway through. So what I'll show you is how to actually mix up and apply the filler. I've got to do the bottom of this main shape, and then how easy it is to sand and shape, because then I have to come through and do that as well. I start by thoroughly mixing my West Systems 105 resin with the 206 hardener, as this gives me the best working time for the heat that I'm in. And to do that, I always use the pumps. It just makes life so much easier. I then mix in the filler using a spoonful at a time until I get the right consistency. Since I'm fairing, I'm aiming for something like peanut butter. This is the maximum thickness epoxy that West Systems recommends and is used for gap filling, filleting, fairing, and bonding uneven surfaces. Depending on what you're doing, you can also mix to a mayonnaise consistency, which is for general bonding, filleting, and hardware bonding, or to a ketchup consistency, which is more for laminating and bonding flat surfaces, or injecting with a syringe. Once I have the right consistency, it's time to start applying the mixture before the resin in it has a chance to kick off too much. Essentially, I just spatula it on, then use a scraping card to scrape off the excess and fill in those gaps. On this piece, I've already done it once, sanded it, and now this round is just to fill in any final gaps and get it looking really nice and neat for my crew member Lucas to be able to finish off his anchor holder. To see what that process actually looks like from the beginning on a new piece of fiberglass, here's the bottom of the piece that will hold the anchor itself. First piece I want to sand and shape is this one. I applied the filler to the top of it yesterday, so it's all cured now and it's ready to sand. Once the filler epoxy mixture is cured, I can then sand it relatively easily with 80 grit sandpaper, getting the curves looking exactly as I want. Some I'm doing by hand. Some I'll do with the 3M sanding block, either with a disc wrapped around it or with the sandpaper properly installed, and I do have a video because I didn't figure it out the first time. I felt like a bit of a tool on that one. And then I might also use the orbital sander for some of it as well. So the goal is just to get a nice flat surface. I don't really want to have to do a second fill, but I can if I need to. The first time I used this was actually to make our upstairs table, and honestly it was so much easier to sand than I expected. Now if you're curious, this is what the final anchor holder looks like. We are super happy with it. Obviously, when you make something, you always have things that you think you could do better, but really, I think it looks good and it holds the secondary anchor for our liveaboard catamaran securely, no matter what the wind and waves are doing.